Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Hey guys, welcome back to Stories from the River. This is Charlie Maloof. I am here with my favorite author of all time. I'm in Washington, D.C. for such a treat today at the Capitol Turnaround, Pastor Mark Batterson. Mark, welcome to the pod.
Hey, a joy to be here, Charlie. And I guess if I'm your favorite, that makes you and my mom, at least. Two people. I know I'm going to sell 2 copies, and when I write a new book, that's a good feeling.
Well, I know we're going to have at least one view because my mom is our #1 fan. Hey, Mom, how are you? That's so good. Mark, how you been?
Good.
Thank you so much for carving out some time for me today.
Absolutely, a joy to have you here, and excited to see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah, your books have been so inspiring to me. I'll confess, I have not read them all, but I am mostly through Please, Sorry, Thanks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you, sorry's the key. Though,
I'm through sorry. I got through sorry. I haven't got to thanks yet, but I'm excited about that one on the plane ride back. Yeah. And I started with If. We were joking about it earlier. If kind of was my entree into Mark Batterson books, and then Chase the Lion was amazing. And I used to share the Lion Chasers Manifesto with everyone who came through our company, and our managers, our leaders loved it. And then I think really Win the Day, which you've created an ecosystem and a platform, just reset and changed the trajectory of my life at a time that I really, really needed it.
Come on.
I know there's a lot of books about like habits, right? I've read The Power of Habit. It was a really dry read.
Yeah.
James Clear, The Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And but then Win the Day. How did this come about?
Yeah.
This is such a powerful book.
Well, I think that book in particular, it came out during a season called COVID that I realize has affected lots of people in lots of different ways across the country, but it felt like a back to basics moment that I think a lot of us worry way too much about outcomes as opposed to those inputs. And so, in a nutshell, show me your habits, I'll show you your future. You got to make and break the habits that are going to make and break you. And so no matter what it is that you do, professional athletes, communicators, entrepreneurs, it is about the day in and day out habits.
And the compounding results that come from those. Almost anybody can do almost anything if they work at it hard enough, long enough, and smart enough. So
there we go.
And I love the quote about potential.
Yeah.
And and you have all these great quotes. Our potential is God's gift to us. What we do with our potential is our gift back to God. It's just that it's simple, but it's symmetrical. It's powerful. How do you come up with phrases and quotes like that?
Oh man. Well, I better backdrop and just say, I read a lot of books.
I think I read about this.
Before writing one.
Okay.
And part of that is because writing is not a natural gifting for me. So I read 3,000 books before writing one, but I kind of reverse engineered and sort of learned what I liked and kind of figured out. So I'm sort of a self-taught writer. But in retrospect, Charlie, I'm grateful that it didn't come naturally because it forced me to work a little bit harder, to do a little bit more research. And so I remember about 25 years ago, I read this little statistic that the average author puts about 2 years of life experience into a book. And so I thought to myself, if I read a book, I'm gaining 2 years of life experience. So if I read 200 books this year, I gain 400 years of life experience, and I'm only 1 year older. So occasionally people ask me how old I am. Yeah. And I'll sometimes tell them I'm about 10,000 years old in book years.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think leaders are readers and readers are leaders.
You're so good with math. You're asthma free now, right? I know the story.
Yes.
And how many days has it been?
Oh my goodness, you're putting me on
I am putting you on the spot, but I know you know that.
I just calculated it was something like 2,274.
So if you want to make the days count.
Yes, count the days.
Count the days.
Yeah. And the backdrop to that should I share the context?
I would love to hear the context. We would love to hear the context.
Yeah, so I'm Virginia Tech was in the Sweet 16 against Duke. This is like 4 or 5 March Madnesses ago.
Okay.
Buzz Williams, who's a friend, now coaches at Texas A&M.
Okay.
He has me come in and do like a talk for the team. And I have to admit, Virginia Tech lost, so my talk didn't work, evidently. But he told the team that it was day 1,181 as the coach of the Hokies. And I remember thinking to myself, who counts the number of days that they've been at a particular job? And the thought dawned on me, someone who makes every day count. And so I really do think, life comes down to living in these day-tight compartments. And do you remember in the Lord's Prayer, there's this little caveat where Jesus says, give us this day our daily bread. We wish it was give us this month our monthly bread, or give us this year our yearly bread. Right. But the truth is, it's always about that day in and day out discipline.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing that you talked about in Win the Day is, when does the day start? And you talked about the Jewish tradition of starting not in the morning, because a lot of people say, like Jocko, they get up at 4 a.m. and take a picture of their clock, right? but you had a different part about, and you told the story about the Jewish tradition of the day doesn't start, it starts the day before. Yeah. Can you share about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and read that Genesis account, there was evening and there was morning the first day. And that seems so backwards to us, but I kind of like the genius of it, from sundown to sundown. And I would argue, and here we are, and I've got my Aura ring on.
I've got my Whoop band,
there fitness band, the same. And I'm not advertising, them per se, but I think sleep is a stewardship issue. And kind of taking care of your body physically is a big deal. And when I have physical disciplines in place, I find that I have more intellectual disciplines, spiritual disciplines. That discipline in one area of life helps discipline in some of those other areas. Yeah.
Well, this helped me get more physically disciplined. The pain of discipline versus the pain of regret.
Yes.
And so I finally adhered to the pain of discipline.
Was there a defining moment, a defining decision that kind of started that process for you? Yeah.
Well, I was in a pit of despair in August 2020. And I went through a 2-week depression. And so like when Forrest Gump in the movie just started running, that's kind of like it was around that time. I'd started then, my reticular activating system started picking up what other people were doing.
Yes.
And my neighbor, I said, hey Matt, I see you always up early in your Peloton room in your garage working out. He's like, Charlie, I'm at 5 a.m. every morning. I said, that's amazing. He goes, I've only missed 6 days this year. I said, well, 6 days like Monday through Friday, say you're off on the weekends?
Yes.
And he goes, no, 6 days the entire year. And so, mind blown.
Wow.
And so I said, and Justin's here, so I said, well, let me see if I can do 50 days in a row.
Yes.
And I was not healthy at the time, and I was having some physical ailments as well, so I wasn't happy with myself. I was 70 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Wow.
And so I started just taking it one day at a time, and then I got into a competition with my siblings to get into a weight loss contest for the month of August of that year, and so that kick-started it. I got to day 50, took a break. I was proud of myself. I reached out to my friend Justin. I said, hey man, because we were texting each other. I got to day 50. He goes, why not 75? Why not 100? Why not 100? I said,
keep going.
I said, you got to be kidding. So anyways, I had taken some time off, and then I read this book. And then I said, well, let me see if I can't go 2021 without taking a day off. I don't know if that's healthy or not, Mark. I'm not sure. I'm not stumping for it. But so I missed 3 days in the first 2 months. And then since March 4th, 2021, I have not had a day off. So this morning was day 769. I've got a couple things. So I work out every day. I do a minimum of 100 miles a week. through a combination of cycling, running, or Peloton, and lifting weights, and then just I've done some half marathons. I've not done a marathon like you, but so that was one of the things that kind of, and then not to my weight loss goal, but it's unattainable so far, but I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
My son said to me, Dad, I've never seen you not get a goal that you set your mind to. So the goal was to lose 30% of my starting weight. I'm not quite there, so I got a few pounds to go. But the first 50 pounds feel like they rolled off. And so anyways, you asked me, like, was there a moment? It was just from a pit of despair, and then just taking one step and one day, and then finding other people who were doing things I thought were just really remarkable, and then kind of reading guys who were like the ultra endurance guys. And I hate running, long distance running. I did the more short burst sports like football and basketball and baseball growing up, and so now I like long distance running for whatever reason, or biking.
Listen,
so anyways,
that's pretty impressive, and I think it's the fact that you those uninterrupted days. Once you get a winning streak going,
that's right.
Then it almost becomes harder to break.
That's right.
The virtuous cycle.
It's an opportunity cost, but there's some tension in that too.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're like, there's like, do I just want to break? Now my goal is to get to day 1,000.
Okay.
I might take a break at day 1,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
listen, at day 1,000, let's just kind of corporately agree, take one day off.
Okay.
Okay.
So anyways, we'll move off of that topic. Well, how long did you always want to be a pastor or a writer? Can you give a little bit of a background of kind of how you decided, hey, I want to be a pastor, but now I want to be a writer? And I've read where you've talked about, and Reggie and I have talked about this before, like that the way you feel like you can communicate and have impact in this world is through your writing, maybe, because it lives on, and you've done the math on it. So I love how you do the math on stuff. I want to hear more of the math and just more of maybe the background. And maybe I'll pull out my list of questions. We were joking off camera earlier.
Yeah.
I used ChatGPT, and I gave you 13 pages of questions.
I love it.
Appreciate you indulging me and helping come up with some questions. So we won't run out of questions.
This is a kind of a principle that I think anybody watching can take and implement in their own life, and I just call it do the math. So when I started out as a pastor, and we averaged 20 people every weekend, a half-hour message times 20 people is kind of 10 collective hours. Okay. And so let's be honest, Charlie, if the message isn't that great, I only wasted 10 hours.
Yeah.
But once you have 100 people or 1,000 people or a couple thousand people, I started doing the math and realized my 30-minute message added up to more than half a year if you counted across our campuses and the number, and if you add it in online, it might be a year. Well, I don't want to waste a year of people's time. So it kind of helped me prioritize my preparation for something that was going to be the multiplier. So as it relates to writing, well, writing takes a ton of discipline. The key to the whole thing is when you set your alarm clock to. Like, you got to get up early, you got to write through writer's block, and it's hard. But part of what helps me stay motivated is that, I have a chance to invest 5 hours. About 5 hours is what a book, maybe 6. Maybe some people 8 hours if they're a slow reader, but
I'm the 8.
Okay, so it takes a little bit of time, but I did the math on, The Circle Maker would be the best-selling book. If you add up number of people times number of hours, I mean, it's well over a millennium. And so I almost Jedi mind tricked myself a little bit that you have to motivate, you have to self-motivate yourself to kind of stay moving towards those goals. And so, I think doing the math is one way that I've tried to do that.
Were you always really good at math?
I don't even know no. In fact, so you asked, did I always want to be a pastor?
Yeah.
When I went to University of Chicago as a freshman in college, I was a pre-law major. Politics, economics, rhetoric, and law. Pearl. was the
Okay.
major.
Okay.
And I remember taking calculus, and it was, whew,
Yeah.
I barely made it through. I don't know if I love math, but I love kingdom math.
Okay.
In fact, favorite miracle,
Please.
Favorite miracle, Jesus feeds 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. So the way I see that is, generally speaking, 5 plus 2 equals 7.
Yeah, right.
But if you take what you have in your hands, put it into God's hands, now 5 plus 2 equals 5,000, remainder 12. And I've experienced that so many times. When you are generous, there's a multiplication that happens that in my book, you can't outgive God. So I want to live my life in a way that I'm adding as much value as I can. And then what I found is more comes back than what you can even handle.
Yeah.
And
wow.
so
you have to challenge yourself to keep setting bigger dreams and goals, right?
You do.
Yeah.
I mean, on that front, our ultimate objective, my wife and I, is not to make a lot of money, but to give a lot.
Okay.
So ultimately, we want to reverse tithe. We want to live off of 10%, give 90%. Now, you have to make a little bit of money to do that.
Yeah.
But God knows our hearts.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it's kind of a giving game. I would say that a huge turning point in my life in terms of going after life goals was when I stopped setting getting goals and start setting giving goals.
Wow.
Because the motivation's very different.
Yeah.
And so the ultimate objective is how much can we give away, and you have to make a little bit to do that.
Yeah.
But
when was that?
that would have been, that would have probably predated my first book, which would have been 2006, In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. I just kind of put together this first life goal list. And I went through it and switched those getting goals to giving goals. And I mean, since we're on the subject, one other shift was huge. I added a relational component to all of those goals.
Really?
So
what does that mean?
Well, why run a triathlon when I could do it with my oldest son? Why bike a century if I could do it with my youngest son? Why swim the Escape from Alcatraz Island to San Francisco? Why not do it with my daughter?
Is that one of your goals?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And then, love to see the top of the Eiffel Tower, but much better to kiss my wife on top of the Eiffel. So it's adding those relational.
Yeah.
So I think the shift from getting to giving and from me to we was huge.
I love it. Joshua said he wants to do your century ride with you. He said that last night.
Come on.
He said that last night.
On.
Yeah.
You just got roped in, brother.
So I'll do it with you. It'll be a relational. Reggie, Justin, we're all gonna do it. We're all gonna do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm there.
Let's do it.
How much time are you gonna give us to do it? What's the math on that?
Hey, there is the Eastern Shore. There is a DC to the beach ride. That could be fun.
It'll be safe,
Let's
Joshua.
see.
It'll be safe. We'll do it.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.